Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the conference and in order to avoid any disturbances during the conference later, I would like to ask you to mute your microphone. Thank you. The Honorable President of AIBPM, Lim Gaisin, PhD, the Honorable Dean of Universitas Negeri Manado, Professor Dr. Deice Akatuuk, MPD, the Honorable Mr. and Madam Speakers, lecturers, distinguished guests, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Fidi Sampo, the MC of today's conference. I'm very pleased and honored to be here. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this prestigious conference, the 2020 International Conference of Project Management, ICPM, held by the Association of International Business and Professional Management, AIBPM, and co-hosted by Universitas Negeri Manado. In this occasion, we shall have outstanding presentations from our prominent speakers, whom I believe shall enrich our insights and knowledge regarding the theme of this conference, multidisciplinary perspectives, researches, and innovations in meeting the current global issues. Ladies and gentlemen, before the conference begins, I would like to let all of us to see the AIBPM's profile and Unimas video profile.
Universitas adalah tempat yang tepat untuk tujuan yang hebat dan memberikan harapan untuk kita melangkah maju menjadi pemenang. Pemenang adalah mereka yang mampu berdiri ketika jatuh dan tetap bertahan ketika yang lain menyerah. Universitas Negeri Manado sebagai tempat belajar, tempat menimba ilmu, mengasah keterampilan, dan membentuk serta memperkuat karakter. Potensi dan kekayaan intelektual serta kuatnya budaya membuat U5 mudah mencapai visinya. Jangan pernah menyerah karena kesulitan ada di setiap proses hidup ini. Hari esok dimiliki oleh mereka yang mempersiapkan diri sejak hari ini.
Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite all of us to listen to the Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Distinguished guest, Mr. Lim Gaisin, President of Association of International Project and Business Management. Mr. Usanggal, President of the Society of the Transnational Academic Research. Mr. Garileo, Director of Industry 4.0 Ecosystem Development. Mr. Davis J, President of Prestige Group of the Industry and Vice Chairman at Prestige Education Society. Mr. Basdi Anwar from White University. And Mr. Bakar, Prestige Institute of Management. And the last but not least participant of 2020 Manado International Virtual International Conference of Project Management. Let us trust the Lord Almighty, because only by His blessing and guidance that we can gather here in this international conference is good condition. I would like to begin this speech by expressing sincere apology for Rector of Manado State University for unable to deliver her speech in person due to the hectic schedule she must fulfill in early days of the incumbency Rector of Manado State University for 2020 to 2024. The honor to deliver the speech and officially open the International Conference of Project Management is given to me. It is a great honor for us, Manado State University, to be trusted as the host of 2020 Manado International Virtual International Conference of Project Management with the theme Multidisciplinary Perspectives, Research and Innovation in Meeting the Current Global Issue. Even though this conference is held online due to the interference of pandemic COVID-19, but believe it doesn't diminish the quality of the conference itself. Moreover, the quality of the publication produced. As higher education institution, we give our full support for the success of this international conference, for this is an implementation of the Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia, number 12 of the 2012, article number on higher education, which mandated that research and community service must be carried out by the academic community of higher education institution. Furthermore, Minister of Education and Culture Regulation number 3 of 2020 of National Higher Education Standard requires higher education institutions to increase number of scientific publications and invention in science and technology. Therefore, Manado State University keep on trying to carry out the duty as state in three dharma: higher education, which are education, research, and community service. Let us execute research, and result of the research will then be disseminated and implemented in community service activities as well as to students. We have expected the outcome of the research will not only presented in national or international conference, or not only published in proceeding or journal, but most importantly, they can be demonstrated and commercialized in purpose of contributing to community problem solving. In addition to that, the outcome of the research can be used to produce innovative products to improve Indonesia's competitiveness. In the near future, we hope to improve the forum corporation will not only help together this scientific forum and produce high quality publication, but also cooperation in performing research and innovation between our institution, government, and also industry. By doing so, we can expect the result of outcome of the research will meet the demand of the market. This is also in line with the expectation of the government of Indonesia, where universities can build partnership with international parties and industry to create advanced technology product for development of Indonesia. Finally, let us work together and hope the international conference project management could bring benefit for the public, academic, society, government, and industry. Let this conference become a source of inspiration to produce innovative works for nation progress. Ladies and gentlemen, now, in the name of God Almighty, let me announce that 2020 Manado International Conference of Project Management is officially open. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to be here at the opening ceremony of May 2020 International Conference of Project Management 2020 Manado ICPM with topic Multidisciplinary Perspectives, Research and Innovation in Meeting Current Global Issues. We are very grateful to be the host of International Conference with Manado State University and working with the awesome conference organizing team, particularly Dr. Gideon and team, who have committed to make this conference happen and have spent so many hours working with us days and nights. Without their commitment, the conference will not be happen. Special thanks to Dr. D.J. Akatu, MPD, Rector of Manado State University, Dr. Donald M. Ratu, SPD MPD, Dean of Faculty Language and Art, Manado State University, Professor Dr. Revolson Wege, Head of Manado State University Research and Community Service Institute, Dr. Mr. Gideon Maru M. Vice Dean of Faculty Language and Art, Manado State University, all committee members, moderators, Master of Ceremony, Mr. Phoebe and all keynotes, Dr. Uttam Gowin, Mr. Gary Leong, Dr. Davis J, Dr. S.S. Parkar, and Dr. Desi Pei Hun for your support. We decided to host this conference because we believe that there is a great demand for conference in each part of Indonesia, which list of conference have been conducted in 2020 Manado ICPM is the answer. The 2020 Manado ICPM is also a forum for international scientists, research, and industry specialists who cooperate to understand and share their knowledge and expertise in economy, business, and accounting. The current conference such as this provide a valuable opportunity for research scientists, industry specialists, and decision makers to share their experience. I'm grateful to the many experts who will come and to share their knowledge in this conference. So, as behalf of IBPM, I would like to say welcome to the 2020 Manado ICPM. For all keynote speakers, presenters, MC, and all participants, I would also welcome to the many representatives of governments, industry associations, and NGOs who will join this conference. I'm sure you will have fruitful time and rewarding exchange in conference. I wish you every success with this important conference, and I look forward to learning about the outcome. On behalf of IBPM, I represent Director of IBPM. Thank you very much.
Miss Ira Christiana. That was a great speech, and we are lucky to have such a great person to support this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask all of you to turn your camera on, and we will take some pictures before we start the conference. Once again, I would like to ask all of you to turn your camera on, and we will take some pictures before we start the conference.
Alright everyone, good morning. Please turn on your camera and I will start taking the picture
Ready.
from page 1. Okay, now I'm moving to the second page. The third page now. Please turn on your camera. Okay, and now the last page. Okay, we're done, Mr. Fidi.
Now, this is the time to introduce the keynote speakers for today's conference. Our keynote speakers are, first, Mr. Uttam Gauli, President of the Society of Transnational Academic Researches, or STAR. And number 2 is Mr. Gary Leong, Director Industry 4.0 and Ecosystem Development. 3 is Dr. Davis Jain, President at Prestige Group of Industries and Vice Chairman at Prestige Education Society. 4. Dr. S.S. Bakar, Prestige Institute of Management. And number 5 is Dr. Daisy Kim Mui Hung, University Science, Malaysia. In order to start the conference, please welcome our moderator today, Elni Janie Usoh, SPD, MLMED Hons, PhD. Elni Janie Usoh is a senior lecturer at Faculty of Language and Arts, Universitas Negeri Manado, and responsible as Secretary of International Office. She also involves as an internal audit at the University Quality Assurance Board. She has been active in the research area of leadership and education management in higher education. Her current research involves study of higher education strategic planning, performance measurement, strategic planning development for world-class universities, and internationalization of higher education. She obtained her bachelor's degree from Universitas Negeri Manado, Indonesia, in 2003. Her master's degree in leadership and management in education honors in 2008 and PhD in education in 2015 from the University of Newcastle, Australia. Elni Janie Usoh, SPD, MLMED, Hons, PhD. The floor is yours.
Ceremony. I'm Elni Usoh. I will be the moderator for today's conference. First thing first, I will announce the rules and presentation time before I start to introduce the keynote speakers. Today we have 5 keynote speakers, so our time is limited. First, the conference rule. 1. All participants will be muted during the presentation. 2. There will be question and answer session after keynote speaker finish their presentation. 3. The moderator has the authority to choose who will deliver the question or suggestion. Before I start, I would like to inform you the keynote speakers have 20 minutes to present their slides, and the question and answer session will be done after the presentation session. Our first speaker is Mr. Uttom Gauli. Uttom Gauli, PhD, is a scholar of international higher education. His research interests include the community college, diaspora studies, interdisciplinary perspectives on education, policy, global citizenship, and cross-cultural issues in international development and geopolitics. An associate professor in the Community College Leadership Doctoral Program at Morgan State University. Dr. Ghali is an advocate of community college as a vehicle for social progress and economic development in and beyond the U.S. He recently edited a volume on global adaptations of community college infrastructure. Dr. Ghali serves as president of the Society of Transnational Academic Researchers, or STAR, which advances global social mobility through innovative research and progressive advocacy efforts. Recently, STAR Network is contributing to the quality enhancement initiatives at universities in the Global South. Mr. Uttom Gauli, the time is yours.
Beautiful Indonesia. I'm speaking from Maryland, United States. It's 9:40 p.m., almost bedtime for me. But I'm very, very enthused and energized to see this distinguished gathering. I also saw some of the familiar faces from last year's conference. If you allow me to share my screen, I think I will first start by introducing what Star Scholars Network is. Have you heard about Star Scholars Network? Probably you have heard before. So we are the Star Scholars Network. It is an international forum of scholars and researchers like yourself. And we collaborate with multiple organizations, as you can see scrolling down on the screen. And the Association of International Business and Professional Management Indonesia is one of our partner associations. So we are very proud. And I would like to congratulate our Dr. Dean Liam Gai-sen, who is also a STAR Fellow, very prestigious position in our institution. And he is also the country director of Star Scholars Network in Indonesia. So when we look at the website of our organization, you can see that we do journals. It's a set of 9 academic journals, lots of book projects, and we have seminars on COVID-19, higher education, economy, management, how this thing is impacting our world. And I showed you the partners, and we have a community page where you can create your own profile. So the main thing here, our upcoming conference in December will be graced by Noam Chomsky. I don't know how many of you have heard this name, but he will be our key speaker on that day. And the theme of that conference is Shaping a Humane World, Global Higher Education Perspectives. So I am myself a professor of higher education, and you see that there are distinguished speakers who are university presidents and the presidents of associations. As you can see, Dr. David Wilson is the president of Morgan State University. Dr. Lynn Pasquarella is president of Association of American Colleges and Universities. We have president of Association of American Community Colleges, and very distinguished people like Dr. Raby, Dr. Sutin. Henry Giroux is the lead voice in critical pedagogy. You may have heard a lot. And there are other presidents and vice chancellors of different associations. including Professor Liam Guy Sin, a Star Country Director from Indonesia. So it's a distinguished set of speakers, and because of COVID, it has also shifted online. And today, I have committed to speak on the role of community colleges, not the research universities, but more in the line of teaching-focused universities. But I talk about revitalizing the business and consolidating democracy in post-COVID world, because COVID-19 has wreaked havoc, and we have lost a lot, and also we have learned a lot. A lot of jobs have been lost, but we are looking ahead for the opportunities. What kind of opportunities lie ahead of us? So for a country like Indonesia, which I believe is one of the largest economy in East Asia, and it's also a largest democracy in East Asia. So what is the strength of Indonesia? What can we do to leverage that strength of Indonesia? I will begin with a small anecdote. At some point, there was a young man from Indonesia traveling internationally. I would like for you to just imagine this, okay? And he was traveling with Einstein. So they were on the same seat. So plane was not flying on time. So Einstein and this young guy from Indonesia, Manado, they started talking to pass some time. And Einstein proposed, let's play a game. I will ask you a question, and if you can answer, that is okay. If you cannot answer my question, you will pay me something. And they agreed. And Einstein said, okay, you are a young man, maybe you don't know much, so it will be unfair for you to pay the equal amount of money. So if you cannot answer, if you can answer a question, if I cannot answer your question, I will give you 5,000 rupiah. But if you cannot answer my question, you would pay me 1,000 rupiah. And he said, okay, let's start. So Einstein asked him a question. What is the formula of the lift coefficient and thin airfoil theory? This guy didn't know the answer, so he paid 1,000 rupiah. And now it was his turn. He asked him a question. Okay, Einstein, now my question. What is the name of that goes to the top of the hill with 4 legs, but returns with just 3 legs? Einstein thought and thought and thought. He could not come up with that answer. And what he did is he just paid 5,000 rupiah, because that was the condition. So now it was, Einstein just wanted to know what is the name of that animal. And this young man, he asked him, what is the name of the animal? Now tell me. And what this young man did is, I don't have the answer either. Here's your 1,000 rupiah. So he lost, he paid 1,000, but you can imagine who won the game. Who has more money now in hand? Young man from Indonesia, right? So young men from Indonesia are the pillars of democracy. They are the strength of Indonesia. Therefore, it is very important that we encourage them to think out of the box. So the takeaway here is if young people are not engaged in local economy, they will revolt. They will burn tires on the streets. I have seen that in my country, in the developing world, even in the developed world. It will be difficult to handle. But when they are engaged in the local economy, they make the country rich. Anywhere in the world, it is the young men and women who have made the country rich. And Indonesia has that demographic advantage. And Indonesia has a beautiful vision, Vision 2045. So it's built upon the 4 pillars in accordance with Pancasila and National Constitution of 1945. So it is one of the largest economy, and it wants to be, in a few years, probably the top 5 economy in the world. But the problem is that there is a large section of poverty, unemployment, there is inadequate infrastructure, there is corruption, and there is a complex regulatory environment. What I mean by that is it is difficult to start a business in Indonesia, particularly for the young men. So for young men and women, it is not important to give them the Harvard education. It is important to give them entrepreneurship education. After high school, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 6 months, 3 months is enough for young people to start their own business. So they need to learn skills, and they need to be given the opportunity to start their own business. So for that, Indonesia has more to do. So you can see that there are 4 pillars, and in the 3 of the pillars, the theme is human, education, development, economy. Vision is great, beautiful. But what is missing is training for vocational education. And the problem of the young people is that I have a degree but no experience, so no job. So there is no experience, so you have no job. Then when you have no job, you have no experience, right? It's a vicious circle. So we have to create systems where the industry experience is built in the curriculum. That is very important. Therefore, within the system of education, it is important that some workforce exposure, internships in the industry. It is very important that there are some technical education institutions in Indonesia. Germany started that 50 years ago. Japan started that after Hiroshima attack. Punjab in Pakistan is the biggest province with a lot of technical and vocational education. And they are providing workforce that is demand driven. The plumbers, the electricians, the construction workers, hospitality, chefs, baristas, and managers, electronics, air conditioner, HVAC, fashion design, beauty, Chinese language, information technology. Every year, millions of young men and women are needed in the job market. So they don't need top class education. They can go to the State University of Manado and to other workforce development centers, which the vision envisions. But I think the leaders like yourself need to speak up to create a business-friendly environment to let these young people do the miracle, but not be frustrated. As you know, United Nations has suggested sustainable development goals. There are 17 of those. Number 4 says, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And within that, when you bring it to the national context, number one is early childhood, number two is primary education, number three is secondary education, number four is higher education. But a lot of the countries forget about technical and vocational education and training. Madam Usho, please give me the indication when I'm running out of time, okay? That helps me because my presentation can go long, but I want to respect because I know there are more distinguished speakers following me and I want to listen to them also.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I am being an advocate of the framework given by the United Nations UNIVOC. And what this does is it's the International Center for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, and it acts as the part of United Nations mandate to promote peace, justice, equity, poverty alleviation, and greater social cohesion. So it has a lot of centers. Those centers assist member states develop policies and practices concerning education for the world of work and skills development. So they promote education as a fundamental human right to improve the quality of education and to stimulate experimentation, innovation, and dialogue. So the idea again is to provide access for all, give a second chance for everybody. If somebody has lost a job, if the technology has changed, anyone can come. That kind of access and that kind of quality and that kind of opportunity throughout life, at any point of life. It may be a mother, it may be a father, it may be someone who lost the job because of the technological shift. It may be a person who wants to learn a new skill. So for that, where do they go? That needs to be developed. And for that, United Nations has made a network of world map. As you can see, Indonesia is there, but I think there is a lot of room for Indonesia to do it. I think I talked about my book last year also. I will show it to you again. It is Global Adaptations of the Community College Infrastructure. In the United States, the workforce is supplied by the community college. I told the story to Madam Daisy earlier. What do the people in developing country want? They want to create another Harvard University. And I say, don't do that. Start a community college, start a polytechnic, start an institution where you show how to start your business. So infuse entrepreneurship in the curriculum. So that's what I have been promoting. And it's definitely a sharing knowledge online forum. So what we have been teaching our young people is to be competitive. But that is not enough because one person can do very little. So I have heard, I asked some of my Indonesian friends to tell me what is the most famous story in Indonesia, because I wanted to make it clear by using that story. And somebody said, it is the story of hare and tortoise. So who wins the race? Slow and steady wins the race kind of game we hear, right? But here, it is not just about one person winning the race. When that challenge happened, I know you have the story. I'm just showing you the picture because the story comes to your mind. I know it is already there. So what happens is the hare first challenges the tortoise for a race, and hare is a runner. He wins the game. right? Multiple times they do it, and always hare is the winner and tortoise is the loser, right? Or maybe not so right. At some point, hare just sleeps at some point, right? And when he wakes up, he sees that because of the steady walk, at some point, hare also wins. But that doesn't always happen. So eventually, long story short, at some point, they figure out that both of them can win if they work collaboratively. So when there is a large river, the hare cannot cross it. So when they were running through the ups and downs, downhill and uphill, hare carried the tortoise on its back. And when there was a big river to cross, the tortoise put the hare on his back and he swung. So different people have different skills. We cannot measure everybody by the same skill sets. Therefore, we need a variety of education to promote our young people. So what we are doing is a large number of young men and women are failing in our higher education system. Where do the people go if they fail? But the fail in one test does not mean that they actually failed in the life. No, they are the most precious property of the country. So they are going to be the workforce. So we do not have to declare them failure, but we have to engage them in alternative education, in hands-on education, in entrepreneurship. So give them the skills. So work with them and allow them to collaborate. It is not always important to be winner, but when they learn to collaborate like the hare and the tortoise eventually learn. In the beginning, they were just teasing each other. They were not doing anything. But when they collaborated, they went far. So there is a proverb, an African proverb, as they say, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. So tortoise and hare learn to go together by helping each other, by enriching each other, and they were able to go far. So I have seen that with a lot of distinguished speakers lined up after me, I believe we will go far together. And because I have seen that the provost, the rector of the university is there, and very distinguished professors of management are there, I chose not to expound on the management theories here, but I would be very happy to sit back and listen to them and then come back to conversation as a panel, or if there are any questions for me, I would be very happy to answer. I think this is probably the right time for me to stop, Madam Usho.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Uttam Gauli. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our second keynote speaker, Mr. Gary Leong. Passionate with learning and teaching personality in a Malaysian LLC or local large corporation with a combined 20 years of working experience in the electronics industry. His experience includes sales, market expansion, product development, and marketing begin in Penang for the Malaysian market, then expatriated to Shanghai for China market for 7 years, and later back to Penang to head the Asia Pacific business expansion for Victrox 6 years ago. With a passion of Industry 4.0 development that begin with internal inspection analytics in Victrox, he is tasked to expand and share V1, an in-house developed I4.0 digital dashboard and AI analytics open platform to local and MNC companies in the E&E and other sectors. He graduated with honors in engineering degree from the UK and desired to challenge himself and his team for improvement from the study school. Mr. Gabrielio.
I come from Penang, Malaysia. So this is our company. We are actually a Malaysian-based company located in Penang. We moved from the island of Penang 2 years ago to the mainland. So because of our expansion project, and in this sharing of 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you our digitalization journey, because today, or even many years ago, or a few years ago, the Industry 4.0 is a buzzword, and a lot of people, organizations of states, students, and even lecturers like esteemed lecturers, PhDs like yourselves, are looking forward, how do we do Industrial 4.0 at your organization, at your school, or even at your own pace, right? So these are the areas of, it is a big billion-dollar industry worldwide, right? So over here, and we're going to share with you that how we started our journey actually 4 years ago, and then show you a little bit of step-by-steps of what we did. In what we do is actually very simple, which is under this 4 category: connect, visualize, proact, and digital twin. So let me just go through on that. Just an overview. Vitrox is actually, in the past 20 years, we have been in the industry about 20 years, and we specialize in the world-leading machine vision solutions provider. So you're seeing like inspection systems with cameras and robotics, and we do all these things with machines for production. Especially, we started off with the E&E electronics, sorry, the electrical and electronics industry. Okay, so as of June 2020, we are of a market cap about slightly more than $1 billion in terms of market cap. We have about 700 people all over the world. Most of them are actually in Malaysia, and a portion of them are actually in China, and in US, in Germany, as well as Philippines, and so forth. Of course, we are hopefully to have and open another branch in Indonesia soon, right? Okay. So what we do, it's okay. So what we do is we are doing vision systems or Industry 4.0 especially in the electronics industry, and we started off with semiconductor. Right? I think Penang or Malaysia has a lot of the wealth of electronics industry throughout this, I would say, 40 years. So from there, birthed a lot of supporting industries, and we built solutions for this. And then, of course, we built machines solutions for this industry throughout the world. We sell to China, to Taiwan, to Mexico, to US, to Germany, and Brazil, and so far. And of course, we moved to automotive and pharmaceutical. And now, coming soon, we are going towards precision farming as well. Okay, so just to share with you. And all this, 4 years ago, we aimed at using big data analytics, because we know that data is important, especially in our field when we do inspection. So when cameras do inspection, we collect a lot of data, and then we need to analyze the data to improve our machine performance, as well as to improve customers' product yield. So that is the most important, because if customers' product yield don't improve, how do we know? How do they know that their yield is getting better, or even that at the end of it translate to money, right? Product that they're able to sell. So all this analysis is important. So what we did was that our machines collect the data. In the past, of course, you put it in a hard disk, and then what do you do with hard disk? If your hard disk is full, you could either delete off or put it away if there's a certain requirement to keep the data. But 5 years ago, we need to analyze. So from there, the birth of this V1 software came about, because it started off with our machines, and then we figured out that, hey, it's not only that able to connect to our machines, it is able to connect to other areas of process as well. Okay, let me just share with you more. So what it is that V1 is actually an industrial 4.0 big data analytics. Big data analytics is one of the pillars in the so many pillars in the industry 4. You have artificial intelligence, you have additive manufacturing, you have AI, and so on and so forth. So many pillars on that. So these are the big data analytics is one of the areas that you can easily get on top, start off with in this industry 4 journey. So it connects to your data. Your data could be Excel sheet, for example. It could be Google Sheet, for example. And then from there, or even if you want to connect to machines, if it's you're dealing with manufacturing. So, and what you do from there is that you get to fully flexible visualization in terms of drill down charts, flexible dashboards, and from that data, once you get it, if you are machine learning, and then of course for us we have incorporated machine learning inside, and then you do processing. Okay, so this is all in general. What I answer to you: connect, visualize, and proact. Let me go to you slightly more in details. So connecting is the first thing. Okay, I put over here some pictures of generic machines across Indonesia. A lot of general industries, of course electronics as well, and production of food and beverages, textiles, so much diverse industry in Indonesia. So we have connected to these machines through connecting to PLCs, as simple as even sensors or signal tower like the HMI human machine interfaces, and the list goes on. And you can use different protocols available. Some are open source, some are non-open source, you pay for it. And from there, you get the database. So it's a step-by-step by connecting to the devices. Use whichever protocol that's available. Okay, this is not very new. This is actually 30-year-old industry. And connect to those with the protocol, extract the data that's relevant. It could be log file, and it could be SQL, the database in MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL, and all this and that. Okay, and transfer to your gateway for transmission. What's next? From there on, you get the data and you put into meaningful dashboards or charts that is relevant to you, so that you can understand what is this charts represents to you, and then what is that important to you. So every people, even universities or lecturers, will able to use their own charts, their defined charts that is suitable for them, their usage, so that they can make equitable and informed decision. That is the most important thing, because making informed decision today is that instead of making hush decision. So making informed decision today is very important moving forward because of the technology that's available in every industry. Okay, so in terms of the third one, which is the proactive action. ProAct stands for proactive action. It's in the area whereby first you must have the database. You already have the database to connect, and then you visualize, you put in your parameters. What if this threshold goes above, this line goes above certain threshold, then it gives you an alarm, right? For example, let's say your boiler reach above, let's say 130 degrees, for example, right? And then it reaches you an alarm, or the temperature, or even the pressure goes a certain pressure. So you set certain thresholds, and then from that the thresholds inform you or turn off some devices, so that it, for example, turn on the fan or turn off the boiler. Over here we add on a new workflow called the machine learning. So the machine learning will keep on learning what is your data that's coming in, so that it can do predictions before your actions can be taken. And of course, these predictions will check it out together with your actual data to see what is the accuracy. So this is a movement towards AI. So I'd like to share with you some small adoption successes sharing over here, that what we did in Vitrox. Okay. First and foremost, Vitrox is, of course, I mentioned to you, is a manufacturing company. So we did a lot of, we still have people to assemble those machines. And then what we did is that we have the people scan using barcodes. Barcodes are very easily available with a QR code. And then what are the jobs that's taken? With that, they're able to know what is the coming starting of the job, and what is the problem if they face during their job, and the ending of the job. So this kind of simple process of getting to know how it starts, how it ends, what are the problems they face, and what's the quantity, you get those data on hand already. From there, many processes combine, you're able to combine into what is the sequences, how is the production of the machines coming on. You can see from different level, different floor, how are the machines progress, what is the yield coming for, what is, can I get, how much output can I get end of this month, end of this week, so and so on and so forth, which how many models and what also important is that what are the problems you face. So for example, over here I just shared with you in our one of our lean deployment. Lean is actually very important. For example, we practice the Lean Six Sigma in our manufacturing. So there is an area of what we call the end-on form. End-on is like if you see a problem, raise it up so that help can come to you and solve it together. Instead of you see a problem, you hide it under the carpet. Okay, so we practice as well that if you see a problem, raise it up. We will reward you if you see a problem, and then it cultivates a good culture of finding the problem, solve the problem before you push it to the next level. Okay, let me go through another one. Purchasing in any industry, there's for sure there will be a purchasing department. So over here we handle more than 500 suppliers, and we only have 10 people. In the past, we received a lot of phone calls from each. Imagine one person handles 50 suppliers. So if one supplier have a delay of their parts coming in, or delay of their logistics coming into the plant, so the poor girl has to receive phone call throughout the whole day. They don't have to do anything else, right? So what we did is that we provide the suppliers some of the login, and then they can key in there the changes of the date that is happening, whether it's early or late. Then our Pareto diagram in the charts will change accordingly in real time. So when the procurement ladies goes to the office, and they will see, okay, these are the changes, what are the current changes in today, and if let's say it's a critical, I will see that in the Pareto 80-20 rule, then they will call the supplier. Hey, I see that there's a major change right now. They will disrupt my supplying chain. So what's happening? And then they can go through the rest. If there's not big changes, they will just go through as normal. So this gives them areas to define, lesser workforce, as well as area able to go towards a faster action. Over in facilities as well, because it's a new building here, we incorporated the solar power about 3 years ago in this facility. So we are able to monitor the usage of the solar power, and also how much production analysis that's utilized within VTRUX as a manufacturing as well. Okay. Not only that, because of the different buildings within VTRUX, we also connect to the digital power meters to monitor the maximum demand of each power. And one of the reasons is that to save energy usage also, because if you power all the buildings at once, your bill will go skyrocketed high. Okay, so able to mitigate which one to open first, turn on first, and then lower down the maximum demand. And the top chart also shows that if we also connected to a consumer grade this thermometer and also a humidity sensor. From there, we collect the data through a normal Wi-Fi to monitor, and then our facilities people will see if there's any alarm, then they will go over there to solve the issue, right, or see what's happening. So energy management is also one of the stories that we did, whereby just now I shared with you many of the areas where we connect to digital transformators, and at the bottom below, over in this here, we put in our workflow or alert diagrams that have a machine learning inside. and it reads from the chart itself what is happening. Is it above threshold, below thresholds, or is it coincide with each other? That transforms what is the action that our facilities people need to take. Okay. Another one is a training department. Our training department collects data. The data could be, for example, every year, how much training has been utilized per course, per person, per participant, and then they can able to drill down to find out who has gone through what training, and from there, what are the skills that's needed. So by itself, it looks very normal. I mean, you can say that Excel sheet can do this, right? Doesn't need a very, what is called in Malay called canggih software to do all these things. Yes, you're absolutely right. Not necessary to have that. But the question is that if you're connected to different departments, for example, our training department connects to human resources in terms of hiring, and if this person being promoted is automatically able to showcase what are the next level of training he or she required. You see? So the Industry 4.0 doesn't work by itself. It has to work whereby once it's connected, digitalized, it connects to many departments and many areas of your facilities, your processes, then it works in unison. So that's the beauty, and that is, I would say, a journey. Okay, and one of the latest journey we're taking, because we have extra land that we have, so we plant some farms, vegetables. Now we have planted about almost 30 types of vegetables, both hybrid, in-house as well as outdoor. So our engineers, or even our people who man the farm, are able to write down what is the soil pH, what is the temperature, what is the CO2 concentration before they pour the water, okay, or the water being sipped into the hybrid farmhouse, right? So this one will be able to them to show what is the current growth and what is the yield crops harvested, going to harvested today or even tomorrow, and then what is the temperature, because outdoor farming is so sort of like affected by the weather. Is it going to rain or not? So all this is available from this, of course, you know, Google, all these things. But if you can see everything in one, so it's easier when you do a planning together with your team, for example, right? So that they understand and they can do a lot of informed decision to plan. Okay, so I will not show a video over here because there is probably too long. But what I can tell you is that you can go to YouTube. You can search VTrucks space V1, V-1, and then we have a lot of video to showcase even how we do digital factory journey in VTrucks as well. So all in all, we invite fellow listeners to be a potential collaboration partners with us, of course, in the digitalization and the Industry 4.0 journey. As I said, I emphasize again, it's a journey because it's not a destination, because you start something, even as how small it is, as small as to teach people what is the importance of digitalization and the importance of using, even starting with a small data and then digitalize it, right? So it's as simple as that journey. And then from that journey, you add on, you teach, and this is what we did. We just teach all our staff and the importance of digitalization, and then we move from there together. So this is me. As I said, that the digital transformation journey can begin with you. My contacts are over here. Please feel free to contact me. I have a lot more to show, including the real software or the real how to use, and what we did with a few universities actually in Malaysia, and we share with the students as well to use it. What we want is that so that the whole era of new transformation will begin, right? So this is, and of course at the end of it, yield more crops. Okay, feel free to contact me, then I can show you more. Thank you very much. my
Okay,
time.
thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Daisy Kim Mui Hung is an associate professor at the School of Management, University Science Malaysia. Her areas of interest are in human resources management, organizational behavior, work values, leadership, entrepreneurship, and psychological safety climate. She holds a PhD in Business and Management from International Graduate School of Business, University of South Australia. Presently, she is an active academician and researcher supervising numbers of MBA, MA, and PhD candidates with working experience across diverse industries. She has published good numbers of index journal papers. So, Dr. Daisy Ki Mui Hong, the time is yours.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ernie, for your kind introductions. And also, I would like to take this golden opportunity to thank AIBPM for organizing this very successful conference. This morning, I'm delighted to share my presentations about the readiness of manufacturing SME towards Industry 4.0. I'm Dr. Daisy from UC Science Malaysia. Okay, we are aware that Industry 4.0 offer both opportunity and challenges to manufacturing SME. And in the case of Malaysia, the national policy urges manufacturing SME to embrace Industry 4.0 in order to remain competitive in global supply chain. And we are aware of the fact that digital transformation journey towards Industry 4.0 is crucial. However, little is known about the extent to which manufacturing SME are ready to embrace Industry 4.0. It is actually very important to understand the readiness of our manufacturing SME because the attempts to implement new technology or new processes in the company often fail when there is no proper preparations or readiness. Hence, there is a need to understand the current readiness of our manufacturing SME and what are the actual factors that actually drive our SME readiness for Industry 4.0. And this needs has led to these two important research questions. First, how ready are our manufacturing SME for Industry 4.0? The second key research question is what are factors that actually help our SME to get themselves ready for Industry 4.0? And these two key research questions leads to 5 research objectives, and they are: first, to explore the readiness of manufacturing SME for Industry 4.0. Second, to understand the impact of SME organizational capability on their readiness for Industry 4.0. Third, to understand the impact of institutional support on SME readiness for Industry 4.0. Fourth, to understand the impact of perceived advantages on SME readiness for Industry 4.0. And last is to understand the impact of market factors on SME readiness for Industry 4.0. I would like to draw your attention to the proposed framework. There are 4 potential factors that actually leads to readiness for Industry 4.0. And namely, there are perceived advantages in terms of benefit and opportunity, organizational capability in terms of financial as well as technological. The third variable is market factors related to customer needs as well as the competitive or what we call the competition pressure. Lastly, it's about the support given by the institutions such as government in terms of finance as well as technical support. I would like to provide the definitions of manufacturing SME according to SME Corporation Malaysia, as you can see at the bottom there. So the micro size of SME in terms of manufacturing, the sales turnover is less than 300,000. For the small size of SME, they have a sales turnover between the range of 300,000 to 50 million, and the medium size SME, they have a sales turnover less than or do not exceed 50 million. I would like to bring your attention to the SME landscape of Malaysia. About 98.5% of the business establishment in Malaysia are SME. Of these, over 3/4 are micro enterprises, where 1/5 of them are small size SME and 2.3% are medium size SME. If we look at the sector, you can see that manufacturing SME comprise of 5.3% of the total SME. Even though manufacturing SME only comprise of 5.3%, but the contributions to SME GDP is more than 1/3 from manufacturing SME. So you can see of this SME, 1/5 of the SME are actually owned by the woman entrepreneur. So a clap to all the women entrepreneurs. And I would like to bring your attention to the characteristic of our Malaysian SME. You can see that over 4/5 of our SME, they have some form of what we call the ICT tools. For example, 66% of them are using smartphone or tablet, 65% are using computer or laptop, 53% have internet services, and only 22% have this firm website. All right, I would like to talk about the concept of Industry 4.0, the definition given by Ministry of International Trade and Industry, Malaysia, that Industry 4.0 is referred as the productions of manufacturing-based industry, digital transformation driven by connected technology. Industry 4.0 introduces smart factory in which cyber-physical system monitor real-time physical progress of the factory, and it can actually help to make decentralized decisions. How I define Industry 4.0, I would see Industry 4.0 as a digital transforming the manufacturing process by using smart, self-correcting system and accessibility to the real-time data to enhance the efficiency, productivity, product quality, as well as the accessibility of production data for business growth. Okay, and in my project, in my research, this is how I measure readiness of manufacturing SME for Industry 4.0. Readiness level is actually conceptualized into 3 dimensions. We will look at the managerial readiness, operational readiness, as well as technological readiness. So managerial readiness is defined as the readiness in terms of the commitment towards the commitment by the management towards the digital transformation, its priority and plans in place. Operational readiness is referred as readiness in terms of financial, human resources, processes, and infrastructures. Technological readiness is referred as readiness in terms of technical knowledge, the skill of the staff, as well as the readiness of the system and machinery. Okay, the first variable, or what we call the first predictor, is organizational capability. There are 2 dimensions, financial capability as well as technological capability. So financial capability, we refer to a firm's financial ability to invest in operational resources, such as funding, human resources, as well as infrastructure required for digital transformations. Whereas technological capability refers to a firm's ability to respond to, learn, and adopt new technology for digital transformations. Okay, the second predictor, institutional support, refers to government or institution support in terms of finance as well as technology. Financial support refers to government or institutions in terms of the funding, grants, and financial incentive to the SME to help them for the technological transformations. And technological support refers to support given by the government or the institutions in terms of technical advice, guidance, training, programs, or services that will enhance the SME in terms of the technological capability required for digital transformation or technological transformations. The third predictor, perceived advantages, is measured in terms of 2 dimensions, the perceived benefits and perceived opportunity. So benefits is actually defined as the potential benefits perceived by the company of adopting the new technology as advantageous to their operations, whereas perceived opportunity is seen as potential opportunity of creating a new market or customer by adopting new technology as advantageous to their operations. The last variable, market factors. So there are two dimensions as well for market factors. Another one is the needs from your customer. So sometimes the customer will actually require that your company need to be somewhere along for the digital transformation journey or part of the industry 4.0. So there is a customer preference or requirement for feature, functions, attributes, and standard of the products that they buy from the supplier, and competitive pressure, or what we call the competition pressure. So the pressure felt by the company due to a threat from their competitor, possible move towards the digital transformation journey. So they feel that there is a need because my competitor is already in digital transformation journey. All right. So a total of 110 manufacturing SME in Malaysia has participated in the survey on the readiness towards Industry 4.0. As you can see, of these 110 manufacturing SME in Malaysia, we can see that over half of them are actually small size of SME, and 1/3 are from medium-sized SME. As referred to the number of employees, we can see that over half of them have less than 50 employees, and another 1/4 has the size of 51 to 100 employees, and they have operated about 49.1% actually operated in the market between 11 to 20 years, and another 31.8% actually operated in the market less than 10 years. Okay, so from these 110 manufacturing SME, we can see that the majority are from E&E as well as from iron, steel, and metal. By looking at the locations, who are they and where are their locations, we can see the majority of them are actually from Selangor, Perak, and Penang. And the owners or the respondents, or the managing directors or operations managers that who actually fill in the survey, they are over 90% of them are actually highly educated. Okay, I would like to share about the readiness of our manufacturing SME for Industry 4.0. So in order to get a better view, so we look at the overall readiness of our manufacturing SME. So you can see that 35% of them are highly ready, and 59% commented that they are moderately ready. So to have a better understanding to what extent manufacturing SME are actually ready by dimensions, we can see that for managerial readiness, that over half of them, 56%, are actually ready compared to operational as well as technological readiness. In other words, it means that management are actually quite positive and also they have some form of commitment towards Industry 4.0. So they are very positive and they wanted to be part of the digital transformations towards the what we call the Industry 4.0. So this is actually very good news for manufacturing SME. And I've actually come up with the hypothesis of 24 hypotheses, 11 hypotheses received support. And the result have actually indicated that there are 5 important driving factors of Industry 4.0 readiness for manufacturing SME. And there are financial capability, financial support, technological support, perceived benefits, as well as customer needs. So what are the implications of this to our policymaker or even government? So I would like to talk about the practical implications that First is to enhance the digital infrastructures and technological capability. We know that one of the many reasons that why SME, they are still struggling with Industry 4.0 or even the digital transformation is because the lack of digital infrastructure and technological capability. So in order to enhance the digital infrastructure and technological capability for our manufacturing SME, what the government can do or what the policy maker is to enhance, and also maybe they can actually do something like, for example, collaboration with the local technology provider in order to help our local manufacturing SME to move out to these digital transformations towards Industry 4.0. Okay, second is to provide ongoing institutional support. We know that financial support and technological support are critical factors that drive the readiness of Industry 4.0. And we know that digitalization is not free. Usually, if a company would like to go for digitalizations, it involves huge investment, as well as it's a major decision for the company to make. So it would be good if the government or institutions, they can provide ongoing institutional support related to digital transformations, and especially they can set a few criteria that the company that will actually make positive progress, they can actually have further funding. Third, we are aware of one of the problems faced by the manufacturing SME are that the employees are not professionally or are not skilled, are not digitally equipped in terms of their skill. So what they can actually do, the government, they can actually upskill the human capital, because most of the manufacturing SME, they do actually commend that the lack of professional skill required to implement the new process or the new technology. So fourth is to identify the model companies that the SME can learn from. So this model company actually refer to those companies who are actually successful in their digital transformation journey towards the Industry 4.0, be it their LLC, the large scale company, or the MNC, or even the SME. So to recap my summary, I would like to show you this graph that infrastructure is definitely very important if we want to see, if we want to help our manufacturing SME to move on for Industry 4.0. So the government or institution need to ensure that there is the right digital infrastructure to be there. And I would like to propose maybe the policymaker can actually look at the smart SME city. We can actually design a smart village or smart SME city that is equipped with a smart manufacturing through ICT as well as cyber physical system. And we can design a smart and lean supply chain of SME. In terms of support is definitely needed because, as I mentioned, digitalization comes with heavy investment. So it's to boost the speed of the reactions of manufacturing SME towards Industry 4.0. So I would like to propose that the policymakers or the government, they should look into financial support for the digitalization journey, as well as technological support for Industry 4.0 for the manufacturing SME. So the government or the policymaker, they can actually even set a criteria for those so that they can have the accessibility to the support, which is very important for their readiness. Okay. Third is about the people. We know that people is the main asset of the company. So the company has actually commended that the lack of skill, or what we call the digital talent in the company. So what we can actually propose, actually I'm proposing there are two important workforce that the government or institutions should look at. First is the existing workforce. Okay, the existing workforce, we can have some kind of program like digital technology talent development. So we are actually equipping the existing workforce with the digital skill And another workforce that they should target is the university students to prepare them for the workforce. So it will be good if the government can actually provide digital technology tertiary program to help our university or our graduates before they enter to the workforce. Lastly, to summarize, that is always very important to have a mentor. It is good to give fish to the people that they need the food, but it's even more important to teach them the skill. So how to actually catch the fish. So in order to share the skill, we need to have a mentor. So we always talk about leaders. So I believe that, you know, in any country, you will have leaders that are very successful in terms of leading the industry 4.0. So I would like to propose that government should actually get this opportunity, utilize or even collaborate with the leader and come up with the industry expert program that will help to move out our manufacturing SME to get themselves ready for industry 4.0. And that brings the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you. I pass it to
Jain. Dr. David Jain is a dynamic and forward-looking industrialist who has inherited the vision and foresight of his illustrious father, Mr. N. Jain, widely acknowledged as a living legend in India's oilseed sector. In a span of 30 years, David Jain has come to be regarded as one of the most knowledgeable agribusiness specialists, having extensive contacts with the key global players. For two successive terms, he held with aplomb the key assignment as a chairman, and in the year 2008 and 9 was nominated as president of COOIT, or Central Organization for Oil Industry and Trade, the sole apex body of the entire oilseed trade and industry sector of India. He has come to be widely appreciated for his innovative initiatives to put Indian oilseed sector on firm footing by drawing up a roadmap for sustained increase in oilseed production as well as productivity. Dr. David James, the time is yours.
My greetings from India to the beautiful people of Indonesia. Indonesia is a land of lovely beaches, temples, cultural and great heritage, with the world's fifth largest population. I deem it both my pleasure and privilege to share my thoughts with the speakers and the distinguished guests and the participants of 2020 Manado International Conference. Friends, the economic, business and management are three pillars of any country's parameters of financial, social health status. Let me spend a few minutes on the subject of my address. Putting the topic in perspective as an industrialist, to me, economies are ecosystems where firms, that is, businesses, operate, and in order for them to be viable and successful, they need professional management. For me, economies are created by individuals, while the businesses are set up and managed to meet the aspirations, demands, needs, and wants of these individuals. The World War II was the most significant point in the history that changed the complete dynamics of the then existing world order. While it had devastating effect on the human life, but it did give roaring opportunities for rebuilding of economies. Management and economic theoretical framework saw a major restructuring. Since some of our countries, Asian countries particularly, were affected, but the most, this is of great significance to us. Traditional boundaries were broken and the world was moving towards a free economy. Maximizing wealth creation through optimal resource utilization became the key in management theory. The world has seen more development in the area of commerce and technology during the last 20 years compared to the past 200 years. The coupling of national economies with global ecosystem has been one of the most significant development after the World War II. Trade between nations grew unabated, rapidly till the halt created by the current pandemic COVID-19. Today, the value of exports has assumed enormous proportions. As per the World Bank, the total value of goods exported is about 25% of the oil production. The current global ecosystem does not exchange today finished goods, but also intermediate goods and services. The significant and probably the most significant of all activities in the last 4 decades is the economic power and strength shifted from the Western Hemisphere to the Eastern, predominantly led by China, Japan, and India. In 2018, the Chinese GDP in nominal terms stood at $13.37 trillion, just separated from the American GDP by $7.21 trillion. In 2020, this gap is expected to reduce to 7.05 trillion, and after 3 years, it would be $5.47 trillion only. In purchasing power parity, that is PPP terms, which is basically a macroeconomic parameter used to compare and bring two countries on the same platform using a basket of goods. In PPP terms, China is the biggest economy with its GDP of over $25.27 trillion. Friends, let's see what has happened over the last many years and take a window between 2011 to 2019. There was a very interesting story. Whenever the global trade increases, global GDP also increases, which means that there is very strong linkage and direct correlation between trade, import, export, and overall gross domestic product. Let's see what has happened in the period of 2015 to 2019. As you can see, the graph is very clear. We had growth all along and it peaked till 2017, third quarter, after which it started to fall and gone into negative territory in 2019 Q4. You may ask me why I'm showing this. I am showing this because this is how the world trade volume has been impacted by geopolitical situations, and there was a sign of US trade war and tariff war, which in 2019 dips below the line. Now let me come to my country, India. What does India import from the world? Is evident that maximum dollars spending area is the fuel bill, followed by many products, but primarily a lot of electronics and some fertilizers and also edible oils. When it comes to exports, we have a similar look as our imports. It is true because we have a lot of processing capacity for crude petroleum in India. The import and export data by countries is incidentally reported by the United Nations Comtrade database. This picture of how India's GDP growth rate featured in the last 4 years, it has been steadily decreasing year on year. The reason of the decline of the GDP growth rates have unfortunately all piled up in the last 4 years, and now compounding is done by 2020 COVID era. At the global scenario, which is presently not very healthy, and each country follows a foreign trade policy that impacts global trade between countries. Let's examine for a moment 4 major countries' trade policies and that what are the significant points that will determine the shape of economy of the world and in times to come. The Trump administration in the US economic plan, which prevailed on China towards correcting the balance of US trade. Trump administration reviews membership in the World Trade Organizations. The president's trade policy emphasizes breaking down unfair trade barriers in all and resulted to protect American economy, which was losing to the Chinese. And what was the Chinese trade policy? Let's have a look. It focused always on selective adaptation. That means they always believed in what suited the Chinese people most. They ensured the delicate balance between the liberalization and use of industrial policy, supported its selected economic sectors. This was all about, in some manner, letting people come in and invest. And then, of course, the open door policy, which started in China in 1978 in the manufacturing sector to attract investment. Today, China, just before the coronavirus, was the world's factory. Coming to the Russian trade policy, an economy which was very strong and military based and was almost destroyed in Glasnost, Russia, which has been stepping up security participation in the Asia Pacific. The country has recorded significant regular trade surpluses since 1998 due to perestroika to its mineral resources, including petroleum. Russia is still searching for the best model for interaction with external players like China, the European Union, the US, Turkey, etc., and is expected to be resolved market issues so as the trade increases. Coming to the Indian trade policy, my country follows a very different socialist and yet a very progressive foreign trade policy. The Indian government extended the existing foreign trade policy till the end of 2021 amid the outlook of coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown to contain and spread. Up to 2 billion Indian rupees of purchases done by the government of India via global tenders have been scrapped so as to provide domestic small-scale industry an opportunity. After the recent outbursts with respect to China, the world is looking for trusted and reliable partner for manufacturing, and the Indian industry should make most of it. Yes, if they need to gear up their manufacturing facilities. Exports from India touched $314 billion in the financial year, that is 2019-2020, that is starting April to March, while imports were to 467 billion. Actually, a fallout from the COVID effect was favoring Indian CAD, that is current account deficit. Indonesia is a sleeping giant, the 16th largest economy and the 7th largest in PPP terms. Indonesia has created a place in the export of manufactured goods. Indonesia has a pretty much similar culture like India in terms of its bureaucracy. Like India, Indonesia will also stand to gain from the movement of multinational companies out of China. Trade between India and Indonesia is steadily rising with the value in favor of Indonesia. Out of $18 billion between the two countries, trade from Indonesia was 14 billion and to Indonesia just $4 billion. India and Indonesia have agreed to raise the bilateral trade to $50 billion. The areas of cooperation will be defense, maritime, security and trade and economy. Friends, the COVID era, the times that we are in now, and the reasons why we are conducting the event virtual mode rather than physically present in Jakarta. For the period after this pandemic, people as well as the government show less interest in investing and more interest in saving our capital. The staying alive is more important than becoming rich. The GDP growth rates across the world have taken a very big hit. Worldwide, GDP fell due to coronavirus in the following manner. The United States 9.1% decline, the UK 21.7%, Italy 17%, France 18.9%, Canada 13%, Japan 9.9%, and Indonesia 5.32%, while India minus 23%. China, which allegedly gave the coronavirus to the world, has recovered from the month of June, and import and export also increased. China had locked down only in Wuhan area. The rest of the country was operating near normal all through the pandemic till now. In the first quarter of the pandemic, even China saw a dip of 6.8% in GDP. Friends, the COVID era has given us a record job losses, something which we have seen in 1930s depression. While the COVID-19 pandemic largely impacted negatively, but certainly the new normal have also been found in the world. The most significant one is that the world has accepted work from home and virtual offices. So friend, before I end, I would like to tell you a bit about the Prestige Group which I represent. I am the president of Prestige Group of Industries and the chairman of Prestige Education Foundation. At Prestige, we have interest into agro-based industries, and the founder chairman of Prestige Group, my revered father, Padma Shri Dr. Nemnath Jain, who incidentally entered the 90th year of his journey yesterday, is somebody we in the last 4 decades have established ourselves as India's leading export house and are present in more than 40 countries. The Prestige Institute and the Prestige Group of Industries, having its headquarters in Indore in the Central India region, is over 43 years old, involved in 2 primary activities: the soybean processing and edible oil industry, from the farm to the plate, and in the education sector, from KG to PG and even beyond with our research wing. The other locations, we are in Devas and Gwalior. In addition, an engineering institution and technology institute, two secondary schools are operated by the group. The upcoming university is in the next academic year is going to be the state-of-art university, which will provide global or the world-class education in relevant sectors of management, engineering, technology, science, and life sciences. And I would say that would also be available at very affordable costs. With that, I would like to give my talk an end to, but I'm open to any discussion, questions to anybody they may have. Thank you, friends.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Davis J. And now we can move to the next keynote speaker, Dr. S.S. Bakar.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next speaker, Dr. S.S. Bakar. Experienced director with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry, has guided one business school to get NAAC A accreditation, permanent affiliation, UGC recognition under Section 2F and 12B, recognition as Research Center of the affiliating university, and many more as director, and has contributed in achieving similar success for another big school as senior faculty. Well-known trainer in the area of operation management, supply chain, and research, have conducted more than 60 research methodology workshops, 25 case writing workshops, 35 plus executive training programs, have been conference chairman for 9 international conferences and 15 national conferences and seminars, have delivered keynote speeches in national and international conferences and seminars. Dr. S.S. Bakar, the time is
Indonesia, am I going to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone in Indonesia. I'm Dr. Bakar. Today, I'm going to talk on the effect of Corona on academics, what has happened to academics, and how the academics is going to look like once the Corona is over. this is in some summary, this is what I'm going to talk about. If we look at the issues today, we know that the academics had its own issues before Corona struck. The education system that we were using is actually 200 years old, and there have been some changes, but then the teaching has been same. You go to the classroom, you use either a blackboard, a green board, or a whiteboard, but then the process did not change much. That you go to a particular place and you learn there. And it is one to many. That means one teacher teaches to many people. After Corona, we can either move back to the passive learning, that is, the teacher speaks and the students listen to, or do we move to a new path wherein the focus is on the student and not on the teacher? It is not the teacher who decides what the student is going to learn, but it is the student who is going to decide what he would like to learn. And actually, the world is on a at a juncture that would fork into two branches, and we can take either of that, two paths. Either we can go back and business as usual can take place. That means whatever we were doing before Corona, we can continue doing that. Or we can move to blended learning. That is the new path that we can take, which can give freedom to the student to weigh and the way he would like to learn. Now, looking at what has actually changed because of Corona, and whether the Corona has actually given a big push to the world to move to the new platforms of learning, new methods of learning, or is it only temporary? Are we going to move back to the the methods that we were using earlier? We've seen that there have been serious debate on using online earlier, before Corona struck, specifically for the subjects that actually did not utilize labs. Subjects that utilized labs, everyone understood that it has to be in the lab and it cannot be online. But for other subjects, there was debate, and people were telling that we should move online so that it can have a far more reach, and students in remote areas also can learn from the best teachers. Move never got the nod of all stakeholders now. There were people who were in favor, but because of silos between departments and faculty and staff, the move never could actually take off. In some isolated areas, specifically in distance learning that we call today, the online learning started, but otherwise the move did not take off. But what could not be achieved in small efforts since last about 20 years now, Corona swiftly achieved in one stroke. One could see faculty members helping others in making them comfortable with technology. Not everyone was comfortable with technology, because there were a number of us, the teachers, who were not using technology earlier, so had problems, but there were others who came forward and helped those who were not comfortable with technology to make them comfortable. This momentum must be seized. The momentum wherein the teachers are willing to adopt technology to enhance the effectiveness of teaching and their reach must be seized, and we must move in the same direction, providing the quality education to everyone, from developed countries to developing countries to underdeveloped countries, people in remote areas, people in cities. Everyone should have access to quality learning, quality resources, and that is what we can do. moving to online platform was made essential because of COVID. We could not meet physically. Physical distances was essential. Lockdowns were imposed by a number of countries, governments, and therefore, if learning was to continue, we had to do it online. Platforms like Blackboard, Canvas were originally used. They were there before COVID, and initially they were the ones which were used, wherein recorded sessions could be played, and the students can learn from there. But after COVID, online platforms that allowed interactive learning and online learning, those became popular, like Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and so on. There are now hosts of such platforms, and all of them are free for the learners and the teachers. In fact, their revenue model is based on advertisements. Resources are earning from coming from advertisements and not from specifically learners don't have to pay for such platforms. But were we comfortable using these platforms? Not everyone was, because in a number of countries, online mode of teaching was not permitted, and therefore the teachers were not conversant with, and the technology was not available. And Corona once struck very quickly, and places were closed. People or teachers could not learn how to use online platforms. So there were initial hiccups in using online platforms, but it quickly changed, and teachers actually quickly learned and started using technology to deliver what they used to deliver on face-to-face classes. We may keep saying that the online teaching or online learning is not that effective, and face-to-face learning, generally the older teachers keep saying that learning in classroom is far better than learning through online modes. But it was proved, in fact, a research done in Peking, China, indicated that retention rate in case of online learning is about 25 to 60%, whereas in case of physical classes, it is only 8 to 15%. That makes online classes far more effective than the face-to-face classes. That is one part. Also, it was pointed out in the same research that sessions that are longer are not effective. Sessions that are shorter, say about 15 to 30 minutes, are very effective. And therefore, the online learning gives you that flexibility that you can give breaks of 5 minutes, or you can give, you can have changes in the session. That means you can put in some tests or some changes. Some video can be shown, and it can be made far more interactive, which in case of physical classes was difficult. The online learning has also indicated that it can be far more engaging, energetic, and focused. Now, but the problem was that majority of universities and the institutions moved their physical timetable to online mode, which had the sizes of sessions were 1 hour to 2.5 hours. Some institutions used 2.5 hour sessions, some used 1 hour sessions. They actually created a lot of problems. Staying in front of screen and the whole timetable shifting to online mode required sitting in front of screens for 5 to 6 hours for students, and maybe similar hours because the teachers had to also prepare their sessions for the teachers, created exhaustion for them. Teachers were also not exposed to the tools, so they took more time in preparing their lessons and even delivering. it also created mobility was actually suddenly stopped between countries, and students who were studying outside their country actually were stuck in those countries. In fact, since the universities were closed, they had no option but to stay at the residences where they were, but not in their own country. They were learning online, so they could have learned anywhere, but then they had to stay back in the countries where they were struck. Researchers had very low options to travel because the traveling was stopped between countries and even domestic travel was restricted. Universities and institutions who were dependent on international students, like developed countries, had problems in recruiting students, even have problems now. Conferences, seminars, workshops were moved to online mode as we are having now. But then this conferences, seminars, workshops moving to online has given advantages. Not everyone actually could attend conferences when they were not online. But now, since the option is there that we can attend from anywhere, there is more attendance in conferences from different countries than what it was before Corona. Another area that actually had problems were internships. Require that people learn directly from the professionals, but pandemic did not permit that, and internships were also moved to online. The professionals were also working from home, so the internship was also moved to working from home. Students did not get the feel of the environment, real environment that they could have got, but then they had also the flexibility and the online mode of working. They could easily adapt to online mode of learning, which could be the mode that they will be probably facing in future, because work that can be done from home, why move it to the on-site? So that is the mantra. So the students actually could fit in that mode easily. Lab experiments, this was another area that had problems, because the lab experiments, the labs were not available to the students. Some universities and institutions moved to virtual labs wherever they had access to virtual labs, but not every university and institution had access to virtual labs. And also virtual labs did not give the kind of feel that the students would have had, because when they use equipment physically, when they see the products and chemicals, etc., they remember it, they learn that far more in a better way than learning on virtual labs. So these are some of the problems that people had. Moving to research, we found that pre-COVID research were generally done in small groups, or they were done by individuals. Data and results were guarded till the final results were obtained, and the publication of results were only done once the researchers reached to the final stage. That actually prevented collaboration in research in initial phases or during the period of research. Now, even breakthrough research, you find, were the outcome of small groups in past, and not collaborative across the world. And that actually created that required far longer time than if the research was collaborative in nature. Now, COVID changed all that. You find that this is, I talked about that they had problems because of COVID, and researchers could not collect data physically, they could not go to conferences physically, meet other people physically. But the advantages were that international collaboration could take place. Actually, in the initial phases, we found that maximum research outcome that was shared was from China. There is a notion that the Chinese government did not permit sharing of research outcome from their scientists, but the fact is that initial genome of the COVID-19 was developed in China and was shared by everyone, and that is the basis of the vaccine that is being developed by a huge number of organizations, pharmaceutical firms. Now that genome decoding is the basis of that. So that shows that even countries which actually did not have open doors for collaboration, actually scientists from those countries also contributed and collaborated with others. Every scientist, every group that is carrying out research on vaccine is sharing their outcomes with the other groups. Now, that kind of environment in research was never seen. So this is a positive sign. The COVID has made sure that the research is more collaborative than in silos. Once the COVID will be over. Now, what is going to happen, as I had said earlier also, that we have two different paths. We can take either of them. Either we can go into the traditional path that we were using for teaching learning, or we can go to the new path. Now, this new path is nothing but blended learning. Blended learning actually is blend of both the online and the offline, that is physical learning. As the world goes digital, e-learning sector too has evolved, and it embraces online tools to make learning more engaging, more relevant, more contextual, and more immersive. Technological advancements can't replace human being, that we know, and therefore we cannot actually depend only on online learning. Therefore, offline learning is as important, and offline learning is also as important, and therefore blended. Learning is better than learning online or offline. And education and training practices should incorporate best of both worlds, online and offline. This has given the development of this has given rise to the concept of blended learning. Now, blended learning can be done in number of ways, or blending can be done in number of ways. There are a number of models that are available. Online, wherein the delivery is done by the professionals online, and the students learn offline. Now, this is online interactive. That means students can interact with the online teacher, and it is at the time when delivery is being made, the students are also able to attend those classes. Rotation, wherein they can rotate between online and offline. That means there is a rotation. Some part is done online. Some part of the learning can be done, or teaching can be done online. The other part can be done offline, and there can be a mix. Flexible. Now, the flexibility is given to the student, and the student can actually attend either offline or online classes. Both are made available to him. Online lab, wherein a teacher or a professional actually delivers session online, and the students actually assemble in a class. So there is a class feeling, but there is a session that is delivered by a professional from online, and there is a teacher present in the class who can actually add to what is delivered online. Now, this is online labs. Personalized learning, blended learning model. In personalized, individual students can learn majorly from online, and wherever they need, they can go to the physical classes, and or maybe for lab, they can go to the laboratories and learn. self-blended learners that the learners can do on their own majority of it. And if they need, there is a help available to them, they can get that help. And face-to-face learning, majorly it is done in classrooms, and additional resources are made available on online, and the students can use those resources, online resources, and can supplement the learning that they do from face to face. So blended learning can have 100% online to say very less online, say 10%, 15% online, majorly offline. So you can have either, you can have mix of online and offline. Why blended learning? Because it will increase students' interest. Online learning, you find that when you use technology, you can use virtual and augmented reality to show application of the concepts that you teach. So the students' interest automatically goes higher. It increases focus. The student can learn what he or she wants to. He can choose and focus on what he is supposed to be learning. Learning through exploration and research, you can search different resources online and learn. Learning by doing, that the person can keep working and also enhances learning through online classes. Promoting learning anytime, anywhere, that of course online learning would give that benefit to the learners. Gaining access to global resources. In offline learning, you can only learn from the local resources. In online learning, you can get access to global resources. So you can have mix of both, mix of the best of both, the local resources and the global resources. You can learn based on your own pace. It allows diagnostic information, students' feedback. Online, immediate feedback is possible, wherein offline, you take feedback only once in a while. Greater interaction with instructors is possible in online, and offline you can have mix of both, so you can have greater interaction and prepare students for the future, because that is the world going to be. That is how the world is moving to. So it prepares students for the future. So blended learning is the target that should be used by the institutions, prepare themselves and go for blended learning. I'll be skipping one or two slides. They are basically that COVID has actually triggered a lot of debate on how important is nature. Because we've seen changes in nature because of COVID, because the pollution was reduced, and you could see a lot of changes, and that are very pleasing to the ears and eyes of people. So it has put more focus on nature. Valuing community is again in focus, because you are now staying indoors, not meeting people physically, and there's a urge to meet people. So a community which you thought you could live without, we found that it is not possible to live without community. So these are the two areas that in fact institutions should also focus on. But to go for go for blended learning, the institutions have to have updated or up-to-date technology. So institutions have to work towards improving the technology that they are using, and adapt themselves. That means train both students and teachers in using that technology to the best of their advantage, with that, I have come to the end of my presentation. Blended learning, as I put forward, is the future of learning, and institutions and universities that move quickly to blended learning will become the leaders in education, and not the ones which are dependent more on physical training, teaching and learning. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Bakar. And thank you very much to all keynote speakers for their informative and interesting talks. Now I will start the question and answer session.
Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the chance. I would like to ask my question to Dr. Uttam Gauli. It was a very interesting presentation, Doctor. I'm so happy to hear that. Relating to your presentation about the community college, I would like to ask something actually related to another program. Could you probably provide what kind of innovative program that community college has done in relation to the development of entrepreneurship? That is the first questions for you. And the second one, in your slide, you mentioned about the phenomenon about what I call it catch 22. And I'm sure that you are aware of that, right? So the problem is people cannot get a job without having experience. And then there's another vice versa as well. So what will be the best solution for the fresh graduates? Because, you know, it's always a problem everywhere in the world. Everybody who just graduated, they can't really get the job because of lack of experience. Thank you so much. That's my questions to Dr. Uttam Gauli. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Teddy Kandayu. Mr. Uttam Gauli, yes, please. Please unmute. Please unmute your speaker.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tandaju, for the great question. Your first question was about the effective programs that community colleges do here in the United States. I have served in the national think tank of community colleges, and I was responsible for selecting the most outstanding programs in entrepreneurship, in workforce development, in the innovation in governance, and innovation in instruction. So I can share with you a database of successful programs, but the most effective ones are those who have been able to collaborate with the industry directly. For example, with the health system, with the aeroplane industry, to electronic industry, to grocery chains. So they need some specific skills, and they are willing to provide funding for community colleges. So it is an industry and college partnership, and not only for education and skills, but also a talent pipeline management, pipeline of employability, and it works very well for a booming economy like Indonesia. We heard from professors, there is so much room for Indonesia to grow. So therefore, this is a great opportunity. I would be very happy to share my contact. I hope your organizers can share that with you. Also, I'll share in the chat box. And also for job experience, also, that is the thing, because we, most of us are like stuck in the general kind of education, which is probably not enjoyed by a large majority of students, and they fail and we declare them failure. So that's why they run into that catch-22. So for that, there are different kinds of solutions. Again, industry partnership, exposure to workplace, alternative days, beginning from the high school to particularly the 11th, 12th grades here in the community colleges, do that. So I think it is very important for the colleges to be entrepreneurial, not always look for the government policy and the government, wait for the government instruction. That way Indonesia will never rise, because government is stuck with its own political stuff. Therefore, to run the economy, I think the leaders like you, Mr. Tanju, I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry, help me with that. But again, you are the leader, so I think you should speak up and you should find the way how you can work with multiple collaborators to make this happen. So again, it is very important to think out of the box, right? What is the solution out there? What is the need out there? And there is so much opportunity, right? The young people are there, and they are frustrated. So it's time for us to take advantage of that demographic advantage that Indonesia has towards the lofty goals that your country had. So I will be very happy to answer any further questions, but thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for the questions, Doctor.
Yes, Miss Annie.
Yes.
There is one participant. Her name is Randy, and she has actually asked me how do I ensure the readiness, and she's asking me for the instrument. I'm happy to share my instrument. You can email me. I write my email daisy@usm.my. And also how I mentioned in my presentations, the readiness is actually measured in terms of 3 dimensions, because I conceptualize readiness of manufacturing SME towards Industry 4.0. There are 3. One is the management commitment. So I term it as managerial readiness. Another one is the operational readiness, that at the operations side, they are actually ready in terms of the HR processes and operations. And the last one is the technological readiness in terms of the skill as well as the machinery and system. So I'm happy to share my instrument. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I hope that can answer Mr. Rianti's question. So if you still have any other question, please put it in the chat room or raise your hand and talk directly through the video. So if there's no question from participants, maybe from among keynote speakers, if they would like to comment or question each other, so please. Yes, please.
Yes, I think no one is asking questions, so I'll take this opportunity.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask, is there any universities in, let's say in Indonesia, that is starting to practice industry-led curriculum, for example, in a university, like a 2+1 program, like 2 years in 2 years in the university and 1 year in the industry, where it's an apprenticeship program that is led by the industry, and then after that he graduate with a bachelor or so, and then he can choose to work there or choose to work in other companies. Yeah, is that such a program in Indonesia?
Yes, maybe I can answer for that question. Yes, now we have the new ministry in education, and he launched the new curriculum that we call that free curriculum, or in Indonesia that we call curriculum merdeka, or freedom in studying. So he changed the curriculum that the students can give the opportunity to train in the industry for 1 semester or 2 semesters, and then they can come back to campus. So in the 4 years of education period, or 1 year, they can grant it to to students to start to train in the industry and then come back to campus. And then also the students give the opportunity to take another subject in other university or other program. But now we are still adapting this kind of university, and maybe we can start next year or this semester through that new curriculum. So now the government, especially in education, we have shifted the paradigm of education, and we put more effort for students to learn in industry and to have or complete themselves with new skills, more with the skills than knowledge. So if any participants could answer that kind of question, please, I'll give the forum to you. Charles, Universitas Cairo. The question is how the blended method teaching can give positive impact to manage all the education system. Thank you. Dr. Charles, to whom
Yes.
you want to ask this question?
I think the question is for me, I'm Dr. Bhaka,
All right, Dr.
because
Baka, please.
I made that presentation on blended learning.
All right.
See, blended, what is happening is that good teachers are not available in every university or every college, and there are people staying in remote areas who don't have access to good institutions in any case. Blended learning can provide them access to the best resources in the world. That means anyone, working in US, working in Indonesia, working in India, can provide education or training to anyone sitting or anywhere in the world. So that means best resources can be made available to everyone. That's one. And two is remote areas that do not have access to education can actually now have access to education. Though there are problems in developing countries, internet is the problem. In fact, power supply is also the problem, that 24 hours power supply is not available. Now, these things, yeah, in some cases, they will hinder the application of blended learning. But in majority of places, you find blended learning can give you far better results. It has been seen, as I was talking about, that online learning in number of cases can be far more effective, other than lab, other than internships, etc., other than where face-to-face interaction is essential. You find that online learning is far more effective, and therefore, and it is far more cheaper to make train people online, because one teacher can actually interact with a larger pool of students. The cost is also far lesser. So blended learning can give a lot of advantages to the universities, to individuals, to everyone, to the trainers as well as to the learners. Thank you. Hope I have clarified.
Yes.
May I also say something on education? You said the linkage with industry institute kind of curriculum, which in India, our government has already come out with a National Education Policy 2020, which suggests that apart from our normal academic, 3 years or 4 years program, you need to undergo some internships, which would be kind of a mandatory need to acquire a degree into any discipline. And even it could have an option that you could do it in modular kind of a diploma and then degree and then postgraduate degree. So you can take 1 year or 2 years and 3 years and 4 years there, and then you can come back and join later. So I think this is something which is the need of the education in the current era, because unless you connect with the industry, whatever you teach, only if it is only confined to classroom teaching or this thing, it is not sufficient. And the students passing out from those institutes or in universities, they cannot immediately adopt to the working world, the job requirements. So they need to have a kind of connect with the industry. They should realize what are the ground realities, how the industry or corporations work, what is the work culture there, how they have to equip themselves to use the knowledge whatever they have learned into the institutions, how to apply that knowledge, how to make use of that. So application of that knowledge is something of great significance, and that is what is the thrust or the focus now in the new education policy, which is now recently by government.
There is a extension to the question that was there, that what is the indicator of success in blended learning? How can or what indicator will indicate that blended learning is successful? The indicator would be indicators are as we are using today. That is, whether the learning is successful or not, we are doing it by, say, general examination. In blended learning, also there will have to be tests. There have to be, they may go online instead of doing it physical. But then indicator whether the person has learned something or to what extent a person has learned has to be evaluated through the systems of say examination. The examination may not be exactly on the pattern that is being done today. That means you will have to mug up things and then put it on the answer sheet. They may be in terms of you may be, the questions may be application oriented. How do you apply this concept in real life? Or they may be on multiple choice type questions wherein you need to learn and then only you can answer those questions. So that it can be different from what it is being done in today's face-to-face learning. But yes, indicators have to be through the tests, through evaluation, how much learning has taken place. And as Dr. Davis Jain said, blended learning also includes the learning that you have on job. That is, when you go to the organization and learn. So blended learning does not mean only online, offline. It also means in the institution and in the industry. So a combination of all that could be called blended learning. Thank you.
And Dr. Bakar. I see there is one extended question from Ms. Rianti. The question is, I am interested with your presentation to Dr. Daisy Key, and also interested using your instrument readiness for my research. Do you think readiness needs competency?
Yes, definitely. That's why actually my readiness, I have 3 components. One is the management commitment, there is the managerial readiness. Another one is operational readiness as well as technical readiness. So the technical actually measures the competency in terms of the staff as well as looking at the system, the accessibility, how the staff actually handle the system. Do they have the skill? So definitely readiness needs the competency. So I agree with that. I also have questions. I hope I answer Rianti's questions, and I will definitely email Rianti my measurement. I have a questions for Mr. Gary. Can I know what is the directions or the future directions of VTRUTS? Does VTRUTS have any intentions to evolve in 2+1? As you mentioned just now, you asked about whether the Indonesian university have the a program for 2+1 means that 2 years in university and 1 year with the industry. So how about VTRUTS? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Thank you, Daisy. Yeah, for the question, we already started the program actually. We started the program on one of the universities in Malaysia. It's a Bachelor of Technology, whereby 2-year program in the university and then 1-year program apprenticeship over here that is supervised by a senior engineer, and there's a one-to-one mentoring and coaching as well. So we have the facilities, we have the latest software, and of course the person will learn what is the using, how to use the software, how to have this sort of like the real environmental industry problem solvings and all this. Yes, it's a 2+1 program. Yes, we just started actually, I think beginning of this year. No mistake.
Do you have any plan for UC Science Malaysia?
It's not under my charter, frankly speaking. Yes, I think they are planning to open up. So you'll start with one first, and then probably the second, third one. This is actually headed by our new called the VTRUTS Academy. I think Dr. Janaka Low will be the person to speak to. I can introduce you to her, or you can know Miss Yo. she has this program.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gary, for your clarifications and information. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Gary and Miss Daisy. So, is there still any questions to this forum? Well, I think no more questions now. So, very well, ladies and gentlemen, there were our 5 keynote speakers with interesting presentation. Right after this, we will move to the section chair or the parallel session. All presenters can go to the certain Zoom room as how it's written and based on the schedule. And after the section chair finish, all participants can come back to the main room, in this main room. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. Now we will be moving to the parallel session, and we are setting the presentation room now. And all the keynote speakers are allowed. If they would like to join the room, you can write in the chat room. Which room would you like to join in? Okay, and now it will take a few minutes to set the presentation room.